The large Thornfield concert hall shone bright, like a vessel, with anticipation in the air. In the silent preparation, Marcus Chen, 38 years old, carefully polished the golden brass that lined the grand stage. Wearing his olive green custodian uniform with a cart of cleaning supplies accompanying him, he was quick to pass unnoticed amidst the evening's well-dressed patrons, who were about to fill up the velvet seats for the prestigious gala. For 2 years, Marcus had worked as a janitor at Thornfield, a humble job that allowed him to pick up his 6-year-old daughter, Emma, from school every afternoon and tuck her into bed each night. Not glamorous, but it was steady, honest work. It paid for their small apartment and Emma's little joys. Still, deep down, it was a far cry from the life Marcus had once dreamed of. Tonight was different. In a little while, the Thornfield Foundation Gala, an evening of glamour and black tie, would start. The wealthiest philanthropists of the city, the most influential business people and artists of high reputation were all about to pass through those great double doors. The whole hall shone as if under stage lights. Every inch of it was perfection, part of which came from Marcus's caring hands. As he polished around the grand Steinway that dominated the stage, Marcus paused momentarily. The instrument's shiny, black surface was a mirror of reflected light, and in its reflection Marcus saw something other than his face. The echo of the man he used to be, a pianist he once aspired to become. He swallowed that ache in his throat, like countless other times before, and went back to work. Almost done there, Marcus, came a voice from behind. It was James Wellington, the 52-year-old CEO of Wellington Industries and chairman of the Thornfield Foundation Board. Wellington was impeccably attired in a tailored black tuxedo and carried himself with the commanding ease of a man used to being the most important person in the room. "Yes, sir, Mr. Wellington," said Marcus politely, stepping back from the piano. "Everything's ready for tonight's performance." "Excellent," Wellington said, checking his gold watch, the kind that probably cost more than Marcus's annual salary. "The maestro should be here any moment for sound check." As more guests began filtering in, business moguls, philanthropists, and society icons whose names graced the pages of magazines, Wellington turned back toward Marcus with a glint of amusement. "You know, Marcus," he said, gesturing toward the piano, "I have always wondered if any of our staff have hidden musical talents. Tell me, do you play?" Marcus felt his cheeks warm. "A little, sir. Nothing professional." Wellington raised an intrigued eyebrow. "Really, what kind of things can you play?" Before Marcus could reply, Wellington dramatically wheeled toward the gathering crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen," he declared, his voice soaring easily across the hall, "our very own custodial staff member Marcus has just confessed that he knows how to play the piano. What do you say we have a little preview before the real show begins?" A ripple of laughter and polite curiosity spread through the crowd. Marcus's stomach dropped, as he could already sense it. This wasn't about appreciating the music. It was about spectacle, a novelty. "Mr. Wellington," said Marcus softly, "I don't think that would be appropriate. I'm here to work, not perform." "Nonsense," Wellington said cheerily, obviously enjoying the moment. "It's a gala, Marcus. Let's keep things entertaining. And really, how often do we get to hear our maintenance team play a $2 million piano?" The crowd tittered, phones already rising to record what they surely thought would be a light, perhaps even humorous moment. A janitor masquerading as a concert pianist. Marcus's eyes swept over the faces before him, elegant, amused, expectant. They didn't see him as a person, but as a novelty, something to be relayed over champagne in the middle of the night. Something inside him shifted. He took a slow breath and met Wellington's gaze. "What would you like me to play?" he asked with a calm, steady voice. Wellington grinned, gesturing toward the piano with a flourish. "Surprise us, Marcus. Show us what you've got." Slowly, Marcus walked to the bench, setting down the cleaning cloth still clutched in his hand. Instinctively, he adjusted the seater motion ingrained from years of practice and let his fingers hover above the keys. For just a heartbeat, he was no longer the janitor. For an instant, he was the man he once had been, the musician he had buried deep beneath life's responsibilities. And as the hall fell silent, Marcus Chen prepared to remind the world who he truly was. The hall fell into a hush as Marcus placed his fingers gently on the keys. Then, the first notes of Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, Op. 290, drifted into the air, soft, pure, and breathtakingly beautiful. In a matter of seconds, the atmosphere in that room changed. What started as a moment of playful curiosity out of mere interest evolved into something almost sacred. The sound filled every corner of Thornfield Concert Hall, each note shimmering with emotion and grace. The fingers of Marcus flew across the keys with effortless ease, as only the hands of one who had lived and breathed music could. His touch spoke of years of disciplined practice, deep understanding, and quiet passion. As the melody swelled and receded, a spell seemed to settle over the audience. Gone were the smirks and amused whispers. In their place, stunned silence. Eyes wide, breaths held. The crowd began to realize that this was no janitor fumbling through some simple tune, but an artist, a master of his craft, delivering a performance worthy of the grandest stages in the world. And for Marcus, The music was more than performance, it was freedom. Each chord released years of longing, of sacrifice, of dreams set aside. Because beneath that olive green uniform wasn't just a janitor. It was a man who had once been a classically trained pianist. A man who had walked away from his rising career after tragedy struck when his wife died in a car accident 4 years earlier, leaving him to raise their daughter, Emma, alone for the first time in years. He allowed himself to remember that part of his soul. Wellington watched in silence, his early arrogance melting away. The CEO's confident posture softened as he realized what he was witnessing, not a novelty act, but something extraordinary. When the last note faded, the room was under an unsettling hold. Nobody moved or even dared to breathe. There was a profound silence that felt almost sacred. Then, slowly, a single clap. It was Wellington. Another followed. Then another. In an instant, the whole hall erupted into applause. Not the token, obligatory clapping that accompanies a charity function, but a deafening, heartwarming standing ovation. The kind that occurs when something inside you has been moved beyond words. Marcus stood up from the piano bench, his heart racing, his face red with emotion. He looked out at the same crowd that had once laughed at him and now saw respect. And even tears. Wellington stepped forward, his voice sincere with admiration. "Marcus," he said, "that was absolutely extraordinary. Where did you learn to play like that?" Marcus smiled faintly. "I graduated from the New England Conservatory 12 years ago. I was building a career as a concert pianist, until my wife passed away. After that, I needed something steady, a job that let me be home for my daughter." A quiet murmur rippled through the audience, surprise mixed with deep sympathy. For many that night, it was probably for the first time in their lives that they truly understood what sacrifice really meant. Wellington nodded thoughtfully. "Marcus, why didn't you ever mention this? We host dozens of events every year that could use someone with your talent." Marcus looked around the hall, taking in the tuxedos and glittering jewelry. His gaze cut back to Wellington. "When you're trying to raise a child on a janitor's salary, you learn to stay humble," he said softly. "I never wanted anyone to think I wasn't serious about my work here." For a moment, Wellington said nothing. Then, with new respect in his eyes, he asked, "Would you play one more piece?" "Anything you like." Marcus hesitated, and then nodded. He sat back down, eyes closed, and began to play Bach's Air on the G-string, Emma's favorite lullaby. The tender, haunting melody filled the room, and Marcus's mind wandered to his daughter, sitting at home with their elderly neighbor, no doubt coloring or finishing her homework. He could almost hear her tiny voice saying, "Play it again, Daddy." The audience listened, transfixed. Some wiped away tears. The music carried memories of love and loss, and the quiet beauty of devotion. Wellington himself felt a pang of nostalgia, thinking of his own children grown, successful, yet somehow distant. When the last notes faded into silence, the entire hall seemed to exhale as a whole. Wellington stepped forward once more, emotion thick in his voice. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "tonight we came together to celebrate the arts and just witnessed a masterpiece. For 2 years, one of the most gifted musicians in our city has been working right here among us." Unseen, he turned to Marcus. "Marcus, the Thornfield Foundation would like to make you an offer. We want to establish a full scholarship fund, one that allows you to return to performing, while ensuring financial security for you and your daughter. No artist should ever have to choose between their gift and their family." Marcus blinked back tears. "That's incredibly generous, Mr. Wellington, but my daughter, she's my world. I can't risk anything that takes me away from her." "Marcus," Wellington said in a gentle tone, "any parent who would put aside their own ambitions for the benefit of their child's well-being as a parent we will support. We will schedule your time to ensure Emma comes first." 6 months later, Marcus Chen was no longer sweeping the Thornfield stage. He was performing on it. Now, instead of a custodian's uniform, he was dressed in concert garb, playing with the city symphony and giving solo recitals that left audiences breathless. Every time little Emma would sit in the front row, eyes shining, smile wide, watching Daddy do what he was born to do. Wellington still has a framed photo from that unforgettable night on his office wall. Marcus at the piano, still in his green uniform, bathed in stage lights. A reminder that greatness often hides in plain sight, waiting for someone to look beyond appearances. And Emma, now 7 years old, she tells everyone who will listen, "My daddy is the best piano player in the world, not because of fame or applause, but because he gave up everything for her and found a way to chase his dreams without ever having to let go of her hand."